Action is the catalyst for transformation because nothing in your life shifts until you initiate movement. You can think, plan, and envision your future, but none of it becomes real until you take the first step. The moment you decide to act, you disrupt the cycle of hesitation that has kept you stuck. Action is the spark that turns potential into progress and progress into change. Without action, even the greatest ideas remain dormant, waiting for the force of your decision to bring them to life. When you take action, you challenge the patterns that have shaped your current reality. You interrupt the habits that hold you back and create new pathways that lead you closer to the person you want to become. Action forces you to confront your excuses and strip away the stories you've told yourself about why you can't move forward. It reveals the truth that growth was never the issue, movement was. The moment you start doing instead of thinking, your life begins to shift in ways you once believed were impossible. Action also builds clarity in a way that contemplation never can. You discover who you are and what you're capable of by stepping forward, not by sitting still. Many people wait for certainty before they begin, but certainty is born from experience, and experience is born from action. Every move you make gives you feedback, direction, and insight that thinking alone could never provide. Clarity grows each time you take a step, even if that step feels small or uncertain. Taking action creates momentum, and momentum becomes a silent partner in your success. Once you break the barrier of inertia, movement becomes easier, decisions become faster, and opportunities begin to appear. The hardest part is always the beginning, but once you push past resistance, you feel the power of momentum carrying you forward. Each action leads to another, and soon you realize you're no longer forcing movement, you're flowing with it. Action exposes your strength, even when you feel weak. Every time you push yourself to move despite fear or hesitation, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your limitations. You build internal evidence that you can endure discomfort, overcome doubt, and rise above the excuses that once controlled you. This evidence becomes the foundation of a new identity, one that is courageous, capable, and committed to growth. Through action, you gain access to opportunities that remain invisible to those who wait. Doors open for people who knock, not for people who stand outside hoping someone notices them. When you act, you put yourself in motion, and motion puts you in proximity to people, resources, and breakthroughs that stagnation can never produce. The world responds to movement, not intention, and the moment you begin moving, the world begins shifting with you. Action transforms fear into familiarity. What once intimidated you becomes manageable simply because you faced it repeatedly. Fear loses its power when you confront it through consistent action, and what once felt overwhelming becomes routine. The very act of moving toward what scares you weakens its grip, and each step gives you the confidence to face bigger challenges with a stronger heart and a sharper mindset. Action also reshapes your belief system. When you take steps that align with your goals, you create a new internal narrative, one that says you can trust yourself, you can rely on your discipline, and you can follow through on what you start. Beliefs are not changed by words alone. They are rewritten by repeated choices. Every action becomes proof that you are capable of becoming the person you envision, and that evidence begins to echo louder than your old doubts. Action accelerates growth by forcing you to adapt. Movement requires adjustments, problem solving, and resilience. You become sharper, wiser, and stronger, not because things are easy, but because action reveals the parts of you that need development. Through motion, you stretch your limits, broaden your capacity, and elevate your standards. Growth is not found in comfort. It's found in the challenges that action brings to the surface, and action transforms your life because it transforms you. Every decision to act instead of delay, to move instead of wait, and to push instead of pause reshapes the way you see yourself and the way you show up in the world. Transformation is not a single moment. It is the accumulation of choices that move you forward. And every choice begins with a simple, powerful decision to take action. Growth requires force and discomfort because nothing expands in an environment designed for ease. Comfort keeps you still, but force pushes you into new levels of capability. You cannot evolve while remaining surrounded by the same routines, habits, and patterns that shape your current reality. Growth demands that you challenge what feels familiar and step into spaces that stretch your mind, your discipline, and your belief system. Without that internal push, you remain confined to the limits you've already mastered. Discomfort is the doorway to development because it exposes the areas where you've settled when you feel resistance. It's a sign you've reached the edge of your current capacity. What you do in that moment determines whether you grow or stay stagnant. If you retreat to comfort, you reinforce your limitations. If you lean into discomfort, you expand them. Growth is not accidental. It is engineered through choices that require courage, persistence, and the willingness to endure temporary pressure. Force is necessary because your natural instinct is often to avoid what challenges you. The mind gravitates toward ease, but destiny gravitates toward effort. To grow, you must push yourself in moments when your emotions encourage you to pull back. Force is the intentional decision to move anyway, to take action despite fear, and to confront what feels heavy. It's the commitment to rise above your default settings so you can align with your highest potential. Without force, comfort becomes the quiet enemy that slows your progress. Discomfort teaches you what comfort never could. It reveals your strengths, exposes your weaknesses, and stretches your limits. It makes you resourceful, resilient, and mentally sharp. Each uncomfortable moment becomes a training ground for character, discipline, and grit. While comfort gives you peace, discomfort gives you progress. Every major breakthrough in life is rooted in a season where you tolerated pressure long enough to discover what you were truly capable of. Growth requires force because the path to elevation is uphill. Nothing worth having is found on the level ground of convenience. You gain strength by climbing, not coasting. When life presses you, it is often pushing you into alignment with a bigger version of yourself. The challenges you face become the chisels that shape your identity. The pressure you feel becomes the fire that strengthens your foundation. Without force, there is no refinement. Without discomfort, there is no transformation. Discomfort expands your emotional and mental capacity. When you allow yourself to endure what feels difficult, you become more stable under pressure, more confident in uncertainty, and more adaptable in changing circumstances. What once overwhelmed you becomes manageable simply because you faced it repeatedly. The version of you that emerges on the other side of discomfort is stronger, wiser, and more equipped to handle the weight of your goals and responsibilities. Force becomes a form of discipline that rewires your mindset. Each time you push yourself, you send a message to your subconscious that you are capable of more than you once believed. You begin to trust your ability to endure discomfort instead of fearing it. You develop a new identity built on consistency rather than convenience. Force shifts your internal dialogue from I can't to I will and eventually to I am. That identity shift is the foundation of long-term growth. Discomfort also eliminates complacency. When everything feels easy, you stop stretching, you slow down, you settle. You settle into patterns that do not match the life you say you want. Discomfort shakes you awake. It reminds you that your purpose requires movement, your dreams require effort, and your future requires a stronger version of you. The pressure you feel isn't punishment. It's preparation for the opportunities ahead that demand more from you than your past ever did. Growth requires force because staying the same is the default. If you don't actively push yourself forward, life will naturally pull you backward. The world rewards the ones who apply pressure consistently, the ones who are willing to endure discomfort long enough to rise above average. Force is the refusal to let fear, fatigue, or doubt dictate your progress. It is the discipline to keep moving when everything inside you begs you to stop. That faux RCE is what separates the exceptional from the ordinary. And discomfort becomes the birthplace of your next level. The moment you learn to embrace pressure instead of fleeing from it, you unlock a new dimension of strength, clarity, and possibility. Growth will always demand something from you: energy, sacrifice, persistence, or courage. Discomfort is the price you pay for elevation, and force is the mechanism that carries you through it. Together, they shape you into someone capable of stepping into bigger responsibilities, higher standards, and a greater future. Confidence is built through action, not the other way around, because confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It's a skill you develop through repeated movement. Many people spend their lives waiting to feel ready before they begin, but readiness comes from doing, not thinking. The moment you take action, even if you feel uncertain, you create proof that you are capable of moving forward. That proof becomes the foundation of confidence, because confidence grows from evidence, not imagination. When you take action, you interrupt the narrative in your mind that tells you the task is too big or that you are not prepared. Action confronts fear with reality. You might feel hesitant, unsure, or intimidated, but once you step forward, you discover that the challenge is rarely as overwhelming as it seemed in your head. Every small step becomes a strike against doubt, weakening its influence and strengthening your belief that you can handle more than you previously thought. Action builds confidence because it creates momentum. Before you move, everything feels heavy and possibilities seem far away. But the moment you begin, you shift from stagnation into motion, and motion has a way of carrying you forward. The second step becomes easier than the first, not because the task changed, but because you changed. Momentum. M gives you the psychological advantage that makes you feel capable, focused, and empowered to continue. Each time you act, you gather reference points that reinforce your inner strength. These reference points become evidence your mind can rely on the next time you face fear or uncertainty. You begin to remember the times you succeeded despite doubt, pushed through despite hesitation, and completed something you once believed was too difficult. This evidence forms the backbone of long-term confidence because it shows you that you are trustworthy, reliable, and capable of following through. Taking action also transforms your relationship with failure. When you move, you learn that failure is not an identity, it's information. Instead of being something to fear, it becomes something that teaches you, refines you, and prepares you for better decisions. People who never act fear failure because failure is a mystery. People who act grow confident because they learn that even setbacks can be handled, overcome, and converted into progress. Action sharpens your skills, and skill naturally produces confidence. The more you do something, the better you get at it. The better you get, the more comfortable you become. That comfort gradually evolves into confidence. Confidence is the byproduct of competency, and competency is developed through practice. There is no shortcut around repetition, and there is no substitute for experience. The more you expose yourself to effort, the more your abilities begin to match your aspirations. When you commit to action, you also break the emotional dependencies that hold you back. You stop relying on motivation to determine your behavior. Instead, you develop discipline, which becomes a far stronger builder of confidence. Motivation is temporary, but discipline is identity. Each disciplined action reinforces the belief that you are someone who shows up, someone who follows through, and someone who honors their commitments. That belief becomes a powerful source of internal confidence. Action forces you to grow in real time. It puts you in situations where you must adapt, adjust, and overcome. These moments of challenge refine your problem-solving skills and elevate your resilience. Confidence is not about knowing everything. It is about trusting yourself to handle the unknown. Every action you take shows you that you can figure things out along the way, and that trust becomes one of the most powerful forms of confidence you can develop. The more consistently you act, the more you silence the inner critic that once held you back. Doubt loses its volume because evidence speaks louder than fear. You no longer rely on positive thinking alone to build confidence. You rely on results, progress, and proof. Your self-image begins to shift as you recognize that you are becoming someone who takes action, someone who does hard things, and someone who refuses to be ruled by uncertainty. Confidence is built through action because action reshapes your identity. Every step you take is a vote for the person you want to become. Over time, those votes accumulate into unshakable confidence that no external validation can rival. You stop hoping to feel ready and start creating readiness through movement. And as you continue to take action, you rise into a version of yourself that is no longer limited by fear, hesitation, or doubt, but strengthened by the evidence of your own effort. Discipline is the language of success because it communicates your commitment more clearly than your words ever could. It is the silent proof that you are willing to do what others avoid, willing to stay consistent when motivation fades, and willing to uphold standards that shape your future. Success does not respond to intentions, feelings, or our wishes. It responds to consistent actions repeated long after the excitement disappears. Discipline is the vehicle that carries your goals from imagination into reality. When you operate with discipline, you train your mind to obey your purpose rather than your emotions. Emotions fluctuate, but discipline provides stability. It keeps you moving on the days when you feel tired, overwhelmed, or uninspired. It anchors your decisions in what you said you would do, not in what you feel in the moment. This mental stability becomes a powerful advantage because it prevents you from sabotaging your progress with impulsive choices or temporary moods. Discipline is the language of success because it builds habits that carry your life forward automatically. Once you establish routines that align with your goals, momentum begins to work in your favor. The more consistent you are, the less resistance you feel when performing challenging tasks. What was once difficult becomes normal, and what was once normal becomes effortless. Discipline transforms difficult responsibilities into natural rhythm, freeing your mind to aim higher and achieve more. Through discipline, you demonstrate respect for your own potential. Every time you follow through, you send a message to yourself that your goals matter, your dreams matter, and your future matters. This self-respect becomes the foundation of confidence and personal power. You stop waiting for someone else to validate you and start proving your worth through your actions. Discipline becomes a reflection of how seriously you take your purpose and how committed you are to your growth. Discipline protects you from distraction. In a world filled with noise, comparison, and instant gratification, discipline helps you stay focused on what truly matters. It teaches you to say no to what steals your time, your energy, and your intention. With discipline, you stop scattering your efforts and start directing them with precision. That focus separates those who achieve from those who only talk about achievement, because success belongs to the focused, not the distracted. Discipline strengthens your identity because it shows you who you really are under pressure. When challenges arise, discipline becomes the proof that you can push through discomfort and stay aligned with your values. It reveals your character, your grit, and your endurance. You begin to trust yourself at a deeper level, not because things are easy, but because you refuse to quit when things get hard. Discipline turns pressure into power by teaching you to stay consistent in the face of adversity. Discipline creates stability in your life by building a foundation of reliability. When you are disciplined, you become someone others, and more importantly, you yourself can depend on. You develop the habit of finishing what you start, honoring your commitments, and stepping into responsibility with seriousness. This reliability opens doors, strengthens relationships, and positions you for opportunities that inconsistency would have kept away from you. Discipline magnifies your results over time. It is not just the daily effort that matters, but the compounded effect of that effort. Small actions repeated consistently create massive shifts in your life. Every disciplined choice builds upon the previous one, creating a chain reaction of progress that accelerates your growth. What looks like sudden success is usually the accumulation of disciplined actions taken quietly, faithfully, and relentlessly over long periods of time. Discipline frees you from regret because it ensures that you are doing everything within your power to create the life you want. You stop wondering what if, because you know you're giving consistent effort. You no longer feel trapped by procrastination or guilt, because discipline eliminates the gap between your intentions and your actions. It brings peace, clarity, and strength to your journey, allowing you to move forward without the burden of wasted time or missed opportunities. And discipline becomes the language of success because it speaks louder than talent, louder than motivation, and louder than excuses. Anyone can want success, but only the disciplined earn it. Through discipline, you transform desire into achievement, potential into progress, and dreams into tangible outcomes. It is the quiet force that shapes your destiny by ensuring that you show up, stay committed, and keep moving toward the future you were created to build. Hesitation destroys momentum because every moment you pause gives your doubts time to grow louder. The longer you wait, the heavier the task begins to feel, and the harder it becomes to take the first step. Momentum thrives on movement, not perfection, and hesitation interrupts the energy you build when you commit to action. What could have been a smooth flow forward suddenly becomes a battle against your own thoughts, your fear, and your excuses. When you hesitate, You allow uncertainty to take control of your decisions. Instead of acting from purpose, you begin to act from hesitation itself. You overthink, you second guess, and you create scenarios in your mind that intimidate you more than the reality ever could. This internal delay makes a simple step feel complicated and a clear path feel impossible. Momentum dies not because you lacked ability, but because you gave fear enough time to dominate your reasoning. Hesitation gives your emotions an opportunity to convince you that you're not ready. The truth is, readiness is created by doing, not delaying. But when you hesitate, you be. Begin to believe that readiness will just appear on its own. You wait for confidence, clarity, or certainty, thinking they will magically arrive. Instead, the waiting weakens your motivation and makes the task feel further out of reach. What could have been achieved quickly becomes something you avoid entirely. Momentum is built through small, consistent steps, and hesitation breaks that pattern. Every time you pause for too long, you lose the rhythm that fuels progress. It's like stopping mid-stride in a race. You don't just lose speed, you lose alignment, focus, and breath. Restarting becomes harder, not because the path changed, but because you interrupted the flow that once carried you forward with less effort. Hesitation also creates a habit. The more you delay, the more you train your mind to postpone action. Your brain begins to associate goals with procrastination instead of progress. This habit becomes dangerous because it normalizes stopping, pausing, and avoiding. And once hesitation becomes a pattern, momentum becomes almost impossible to rebuild without a deliberate push that breaks the cycle. When you hesitate, you miss the window of opportunity that momentum creates. Doors that were open begin to close. Energy that felt high begins to fade. Inspiration that felt strong begins to weaken. Momentum is a fragile force. It rewards movement, but it does not tolerate indecision. Opportunities often respond to urgency, and hesitation signals that you are not prepared to seize what is in front of you. Hesitation magnifies fear because standing still gives fear room to expand. When you move, fear has to keep up with you. When you stop, fear surrounds you. The more you delay, the more intimidating the next step becomes. You mentally inflate the difficulty of the task until it feels bigger than your strength. In truth, nothing changed except the amount of time you gave your fear to grow. Momentum thrives on confidence, and hesitation drains that confidence away. Every time you delay action, you lose trust in your own ability to follow through. You begin to question your discipline, your consistency, and your capability. That self-doubt becomes a barrier that slows you down even more. Action rebuilds confidence, but hesitation slowly erodes it, leaving you feeling stuck and uncertain. Hesitation disconnects you from your goals because it breaks the emotional connection between you and the outcome you want. When you act, you feel connected to your future. When you hesitate, you drift away from it. The longer you wait, the more distant your dreams feel, and the harder it becomes to reignite the passion that once fueled you. Momentum keeps you aligned with your purpose, but hesitation creates a disconnect that takes effort to repair, and hesitation destroys momentum because momentum relies on decisiveness. The moment you move, you generate energy. The moment you pause, you lose it. Progress is not built on perfect steps. It's built on consistent ones. When you hesitate, you surrender your power to fear, but when you move, you reclaim control of your direction. Momentum will work for you, but only if you refuse to give hesitation enough time to slow you down. Your future demands bold execution because the life you envision cannot be built through hesitation, half effort, or timid movement. The next level of your destiny requires decisions that stretch you beyond the limits of your comfort and challenge, the version of yourself you've been settling for. If your dreams are big, your actions must be bigger. Your future is calling for strength, courage, and conviction, and none of those qualities are activated through passive intention. They come alive through bold, deliberate execution. Bold execution forces you to confront the fears that have been limiting your progress. Every time you choose courage over caution, you weaken the grip of doubt and strengthen your ability to take decisive action. The future you want is not waiting on perfect conditions. It is waiting on you to stop letting fear dictate your choices. Boldness is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward even while fear exists. And every bold step you take sends a message to your future that you are ready to claim it. Your future demands bold execution. because major breakthroughs require major commitment. Small actions create movement, but bold actions create transformation. You cannot expect extraordinary results while taking ordinary steps. The path to your potential requires choices that may feel risky, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar, but those are the exact moments that shape your character and elevate your capacity. Playing safe keeps you where you are. Playing bold moves you to where you are meant to go. Bold execution demands a level of self-belief that stretches beyond your current reality. When you decide to act boldly, you declare that you trust your ability to grow into the responsibilities your future holds. You stop shrinking your goals to match your comfort and start expanding your mindset to match your destiny. Your future cannot be built on doubt, insecurity, or small thinking. It is built on the conviction that you are capable of more, deserving of more, and willing to become more. Bold execution also eliminates the excuses that have slowed you down. When you move boldly, you no longer allow distractions, fear, or uncertainty to dictate your pace. You take ownership of your direction, your discipline, and your destiny. This level of ownership forces you to rise above your old patterns and develop the resilience needed to sustain long-term success. It shifts your identity from someone who waits to someone who leads, and that shift becomes the foundation of your future. Your future demands bold execution because impact requires visibility. When you step boldly into your purpose, you stop hiding your potential and start using it. You show up fully. You take risks. You put your gifts into motion instead of keeping them tucked away in fear of judgment or failure. Bold execution places you in the arena where growth happens, opportunities appear, and connections are made. You cannot transform your life from the sidelines. You must step onto the field and engage with your calling. Bold execution accelerates momentum because big steps create big shifts. When you act boldly, the energy you generate propels you forward faster than cautious choices ever could. Each bold decision multiplies your progress, opening doors that hesitation would have kept closed. Momentum is fueled by decisive action, and nothing is more decisive than choosing to pursue your vision with boldness instead of waiting for certainty or approval. Bold execution demands that you raise your standards. You cannot step into a powerful future while operating with minimal effort or inconsistent discipline. Your future requires you to hold yourself accountable at a higher level, to push beyond your limits, and to approach your goals with intensity and focus. When you embrace bold execution, you stop settling for mediocrity and begin demanding excellence from yourself, because excellence is the language of your next level. Your future demands bold execution because every dream you carry comes with a level of responsibility. You are responsible for nurturing it, protecting it, and pursuing it with intention. Bold execution is the expression of that responsibility. It is the recognition that your purpose is too important to be delayed, too valuable to be neglected, and too powerful to be treated casually. Your future is counting on you to show up with strength, with vision, and with unshakable determination, and bold execution becomes the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. It is the force that transforms potential into reality, ideas into impact, and dreams into destiny. Your future is not shaped by what you say you want. It is shaped by what you boldly act on, commit to, and pursue without apology. Your next level is already prepared. It is simply waiting for you to execute with the boldness required to step into I.